Hey, how's everyone doing? I'll be with you shortly. Let me know how the audio is coming in for you, if it's okay. Glad you could be here with me, whether it's a Sunday night or whether it's a Monday morning here in Asia. Appreciate the time that you've given to spend with me here. Uh, Things are going to get a little bit interesting, a little bit of a twist and turn in this one, in this live stream. So, yeah, you might want to stick around for it. So, I'll be with you guys fairly shortly. And again, thanks for being here. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. This is our weekly live stream. And again, glad you could make it wherever you might be. Appreciate you being here. Again, whether it's 9 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. here in or 9 a.m. here in Asia, thanks for making it here. Aloha and welcome. Let me take a quick roll call. Pabar, good evening. How you doing? Fat Vegan, how are you doing? Silver Eagle, Truth Monster. Uh, One day, maybe one day. I think it's too early for that. I don't want to frighten you guys again. 2 weeks in a row, but yeah, okay. Again, Truth Monster, how you doing? Silver Eagle, Peter Schultz, how are you doing? What are CBDCs? CBDCs are central bank digital currencies. This is probably the next money or type of monetary system that is expected to roll out. So it's a central bank digital currency, and we'll touch on that slightly. Okay, great question. Let's see, Carrie Ellen Wilder, how you doing? Let's see, Sunday night crew to saddle up and silver up. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, more adventures in real money, more adventures in what type of money that they may be looking to allow us to have or put forward to us. So we're going to take a look at that. James Richter, how you doing? Let me see, Patrick Bateman, greetings and salutations to you as well. Again, Pablo Pina, how you doing? Hola. Let's see, James Richter. Okay, stalwarts. A lot of stalwarts. You guys are here each and every week. Appreciate that, Mr. Nguyen, Chris Primer. How you doing? Let's see. Uh, okay, new one here. Holger. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, man. It's my tongue is tied. It's a bit early for me here in the morning. Greetings from Philippines. How you doing? Kumusta? Holger Bialas. So, again, if you are new, go ahead and type in new and where you're from, and we'll try and acknowledge you. Um, appreciate for not appreciate. Apologize for messing up your name there. I'll get it right one day. Come back again. I'll get it right. Come back next week. I'll get it right. Subscribe. I'll even get it right. Jonathan Gibson, how you doing? Steve Miller, Aaron, how you doing? Okay, so a lot of new guys here. Appreciate it. Let me turn something down real quick. Um, okay. Okay, so again, appreciate y'all being here. Cosmo, Mark Ter, Steve Miller. Mark Ter, first time I've seen your name here as well. Welcome aboard. Strongman, Silver and Gold. Let's see, Jack P, Harold B, Aces Up. Okay, so a lot of new names. Appreciate that. A lot of older names. Appreciate that as well. And as always, please do subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified of new updates and give us a thumbs up. thumbs up. They really go a long way for us, and we really do appreciate that. And as always, you can find us on social media. Silverbullion.com.sg is our website. Yes, we do sell gold and silver. We do vault gold and silver, but I think even more than that, we found that we really started to move things into where we specialize in wealth protection, systemic wealth protection. So, as I always say, I know a lot of you guys out there really do know what's going on. And so give us a call, give us an email, shoot us an email and see what we can do for you. If you're trying to understand gold and silver, just the same, shoot us an email at sales@silverbullion.com.sg and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you. We'll send emails back and forth and we'll try and help you understand. As we always say, we're all in this all together. Silver Bullion SG is our Facebook handle. Silver Bullion PL for private limited is where you can find us on Twitter. New one this week. Instagram, Silver Bullion SG. You can go ahead and find us there. Silver Bullion SG is our Instagram handle. Okay, new one. Audio versions, bit.ly, SBTV iTunes, or for Spotify, SBTV Spotify. And again, Crisis Tracker. A lot of good info has been coming out on Crisis Tracker. If you do have that Telegram app, whether it's on your desktop or on your mobile phone, again, it's a free app. If you do have it, go ahead and search for Crisis Tracker. Add us, join our group, and we're going to be putting pretty much daily, as I always say, two or maybe three articles that go along with what's going on with gold, silver, economy, finance, things like that. So it's a good group. We definitely sift through the weeds to try and find articles that maybe or may have some importance to you. So again, aloha and welcome. I appreciate all of you being here. And again, you do want to subscribe because as we move over to our upcoming guest segment, this guest, she is one of the brightest minds out there. And if you've ever seen her work, you know what I'm talking about. This guest is Lynn Alden. She'll be coming up this week, founder of Lynn Alden Investment Strategy, which provides equity research and investment strategies that allow the managing of money through all market conditions. And Lynn has over 15 years of experience in various public and private capacities. Her work has even been featured or cited on well-known publications such as Market Watch, CNBC, Real Vision, Times, Money Magazine, and many others. So again, I think this one's going to be a pretty good one. Lynn Alden, she's one of the brightest minds out there. She's well diverse. You can ask her anything. She's going to know it. And so again, do subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified when this interview comes up. And as always, let me hang on. Let me just throw this in there. My colleague Vincent posted something. So yes, join the Crisis Tracker group. Okay, if you have Telegram, just go ahead and search Crisis Tracker. And as always, because we appreciate all of you being here, we are going to do our weekly ebook giveaway. And last week, there were a few of you guys that wanted to get that book, Speculator, but just didn't make it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and give it away again this week. If you did win last week and you win again this week, I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and give you the second book. We'll send you over the second book. So let us know in Doug Casey's series. So again, this book, Charles Knight, age 23, a hero for the modern age and for all time. The greatest gold discovery in history draws Charles Knight to West Africa, where he unearths deception, violence, and romance. Sander Wynn, a Dutchman, on his own mission, mentors Charles on his voyage into the world of speculation and African politics. But a psychopathic rebel leader, the purveyors of a $6 billion fraud, a team of mercenaries bent on early retirement, and of course the U.S. government all get in his way. Everyone wants him dead. But Charles, he has other plans. He plans to strike it rich. So if you want to win this book, and I know there were a few of you from last week that were looking to get it, so we thought we'd give it out one more time. House rules: download the Kindle app from your phone or tablet's app store. It's a free app. I'll be one of the first five to answer correctly in this live stream before the timer runs out. You're going to have about a minute and 30 seconds. U.S. winners will be given a link to download the ebook. Non-U.S. winners can ask Amazon to exchange the ebooks for other things like gift cards. This happens kind of frequently, so you can contact Amazon and tell them you want to exchange your ebook for a gift card, and they'll do that for you. And you're going to have to provide us an email during this live stream. And when you give us the email, hold off on any other messages that go along with the email. So, I mean, just to be a little bit more certain that your comment will be hidden. We will mute your comments. Just go ahead and put your email only, and we'll go ahead and we'll copy it on that comment, and no one else will see it because we will be muting that comment. Okay, so having said all that, if everyone is ready, you guys are ready for that Doug Casey book, The Speculator. The question's going to come from Nick Giambruno's interview last week. And the question is, regarding the Fed or the government's terminology and language, Nick says don't adopt their language because their language is blank. Don't adopt the Fed or the government's language because their language is blank. Okay, so go ahead and give it your best shot. This is coming from the Nick Giambruno interview last week. I hope you all had a chance to watch it. Nick, he's a straight shooter. He will tell you straight up. All right, so let's get these answers coming in. Deceptive. So Nick says don't adopt their language because their language is, and go ahead and give it your best shot. Deceptive from Truth Monster. Then we have Nick Nasty, propaganda. Chris Primer, the devil. Nick Nasty, deceptive. James Richter, propaganda. Manuel de Jesus, propaganda. Okay, hang on here. A lie. Okay. Nick Nasty, all right. Truth Monster, misleading. Mr. Nguyen, propaganda. Okay, let me see what else is out there. Let's see. Harold B, propaganda. Okay, and that's it. We're gonna stop at Harold B. Harold B, you're the fifth one to get it right. Let me just make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Well, there you go. The answer is propaganda. Okay, and so what we'll do is we will revisit Nick Giambruno's interview, and we're going to show you just what he said.
It's a scam. Money printing is theft. I mean, this isn't about stimulating the economy. Not that the government should stimulate the economy in the first place, but it's not stimulating the economy. I think it's very, very, very important to use accurate words, accurate terminology, and don't adopt their language because their language is propaganda. They're not stimulating the money, the economy, or engaging in quantitative easing. They're stealing. It's theft. They're taking money from people without their consent and diverting it to them. That's called theft. So I don't like to use their fancy words and terminology that they cloak it with all these graphs and charts and jargon. You got to look at the first principles. What are they doing on a first principle? They're stealing. This is not good.
Okay, so before we get into it, again, the winners, Mr. Nguyen, propaganda. Nick Nasty, propaganda. Okay, Manuel de Jesus, propaganda. Harold B, propaganda as well, and James Richter, propaganda as well. So those are our 5 winners: Mr. Nguyen, Nick Nasty, Manuel de Jesus, Harold B, and James Richter. Congratulations to you all. Congratulations to you all, and thanks for watching the interview. We appreciate that. So QE stimulus, these are theft, according to Nick, according to a lot of people. Stealing, straight up stealing. Generations that did not have it, meaning QE, or use it, they're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it, and these are the things that will cause a new monetary system to have to try and clean up the mess, to try and start new. What will that new monetary system look like? So we'll go over it in our main topic. And I shouldn't say exactly. It's kind of the things that we go through, and what most of the opinions say the new monetary system will look like. So let's look at a couple more things from Nick Giambruno, what he had to say in the past interview.
So why was gold always the best form of money? Because in my view, it's the one commodity that's most resistant to inflation. It's the most resistant to inflation. And that is because gold's stockpiles have built up over thousands of years, and they're indestructible. So the gold that the the pharaohs had and the pyramids, that's still with us. It's indestructible. It's basically indestructible. I mean, you have to do some really powerful explosions. It's not going to naturally corrode. Gold is going to be gold unless you like, put it in a nuclear explosion or something crazy like that. So gold basically doesn't corrode. What did that do? That means the stockpiles of gold built up over thousands of years, and relative to production, that makes current production insignificant relative to the existing supply. That's a very, very, very important monetary attribute, because that means it's very hard to inflate that supply.
All right. So Nick says gold was always the best form of money because it is the most resistant to inflation. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree there. It is a hedge towards inflation, and I'm not sure how people would take this, but everything else is getting inflated in prices. But yet we see at least the spot price for gold, spot price for silver, not all moving that much. But when you look at the premiums are up there, and we've gone over this before. What goes into premiums, and I think this is something where you got to ask yourself: is the spot price really the spot price, or should the spot price actually be more in line with the price that you could actually buy it at? And this is the difference where you have that paper gold and silver market, and then you have the true physical gold and silver market. So, people have talked about bifurcation, meaning a splitting of the price before, and I think you're going to see in time as we move on, as that spot price tries to remain lower or down. I mean, I think you're just going to see a bigger gap between the true actual physical price if you want to buy it and the spot price. So in time, I do think we're going to see a little bit more of a gap starting to open up. It's just my guess. Nick John Bruno, one more clip from this last week's interview.
Central banks are completely worthless. They're useless institutions. They only exist, they're not your friends. Central banks are your enemies. Central banks only exist to take money from you and to divert it to the politically connected. There's no other purpose for a central bank. So I would say go on your own personal gold standard. Go on your own precious metal standard. And don't wait for these guys to do it, because by the time these guys start doing it, they're going to drive the price up. So do it before them. And like I said, just how they manage their reserves with gold and precious metals, why don't individuals do that? You can be your own central bank.
Absolutely. Yes, you can be your own central bank. According to Nick, central banks are worthless, useless. They are not your friends. They are not your friends. Central banks are your enemies. Go on your own personal gold standard, go on your own personal silver standard, be your own central bank. And we do hear this time and time again where, you hear so much advice given to you, and the advice that's given to you is not exactly the advice of what the people who are telling you to do. It's not exactly what they themselves are doing. But when you look at central banks, when you look at governments, they're holding gold. They're holding gold in reserves, and yet they want us to use their paper money, and they want to even move us off this paper money into some type of form of a digital currency. So, again, be your own central bank. You need to have options, and that's something that we talk about all the time, all the time. So, yes, absolutely. Yes, like Nick, who speak with conviction, are always a pleasure, always a pleasure to watch. So, I do hope that you enjoyed that interview with Nick Giambruno. It's always up there. So, go ahead and take a look at it. And, Nick is a pretty interesting guy, very interesting guy. So let's go over and take a look at our website now, silverbullion.com.sg, and see what's going on with the silver price, the gold price. All right, as folks know already, we do have this 15,000 ton capacity silver vault, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the world. It is huge. It's a very, very huge structure. And we do accept payment in Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Cash Gold Token. If you would like to use those in the currency section here, just go ahead and go down, and you will see that you can use either Cash Gold Token, which is a gold backed token, one of the better ones out there, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, or Litecoins. You can go ahead and use these cryptocurrencies if you wish, or you can use these other currencies as well: Sing dollar, US dollar, euro, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, pound sterling, and Hong Kong dollar. So we're pretty flexible here. Again, all about options. So here we go. Silver, 27.87, down some 15 cents. $28 seems to be a very, very strong resistance level. It's just very tough for silver to close above that $28 level. I mean, I can imagine once it breaks through, I mean, really breaks through, where we can get closer to 29, I think we're going to move up pretty significantly and possibly get into that 30 level. Just my guess, but that's what I believe. Gold, 1868. Gold has come down a bit as well. So both metals under pressure a bit at the open here in Asia. Nickel has cleared 18,000 a ton again, which is good for nickel. As you guys know, we talk about here, nickel is one of the key components in electric vehicle batteries. It's in very high demand. And as most of you know already, the world is shifting towards electric vehicles. Of course, electric vehicles need batteries. And as I said, these batteries, a big component in them is nickel. So go ahead and take a look at nickel and see exactly the role it plays as far as electric vehicle batteries. You may be surprised. Here you can download our Silver Bullion Investment Kit. This is a free download. There are topics such as, let me scroll down here a bit. Why buy gold and silver? Tax exempt bullion in Singapore. Again, why even silver? Why silver bullion? Why us? And there are things we do that we do very differently from others, and we do a system that is, or we have a system that is pretty unique, pretty unique. Bullion genuinity guarantee, star storage accounts, the buying process, uh, quite a bit of topics in here. How you can transfer in, borrowing or lending with secured P2P loans, peer-to-peer loans. What this means is if you store in our vault, you can borrow against your gold and silver to take out a peer-to-peer loan. This is an interesting item here. And again, electric vehicle batteries and safe deposit boxes. So again, you can either just take a look at this on our website, or you can go ahead and download it if you wish. Star Storage signups. This is a free sign up. There are no maintenance fees. Very easy to do, especially if it's like a personal account or a joint account. Very, very easy to do. Just need to fill out an application and show us some ID, most likely a passport. Gold silver ratio 67. 67 ounces of silver is what it takes to equal 1 ounce of gold price wise. Price wise. So this definitely makes silver undervalued. Historically, the ratio is about 16 or even 20 to 1. Right now, it's at about 67. This makes silver undervalued. And if you're trying to decide between gold and silver, this is one indicator that would tell you that it is time to buy silver. And I know I'm still buying silver. Featured products: 1 ounce gold maple leaves, 100-ounce bars, 1 ounce coins, nickel, platinum bar, 1 kg gold bars, and of course LBMA bars, which is always in the news. Seems that whether it's on comics or whether it's people trying to source LBMA bars and buy and store them, it's always in the news. And sometimes we hear of especially in the West, guys are saying there's shortages. Here in the East, so far we were okay. But if you are interested, you can buy this and you will own it. It is yours, and you can either pick it up from our shop if you are in Singapore, or you can store it in our vault. And again, this is yours. You own it. This is not some type of pooled account or anything like that. You own it. It is yours. And to do that, you would have to again sign up for a Star Storage account or sign up as a Silver Bullion user. Fairly simple to do. Just sign up here and you'll find that there's different accounts: personal, joint, trust, joint account with the minor business, and the popular and ever growing retirement account. This is for people who do have 401ks and they're looking to roll it over into some type of a precious metals IRA. So this is something that I think, as we get older, we should look into. Again, personal account, which is the easiest. Same with joint account. Basically, just fill it out here, basic information, and you're just going to need to fill out the application along with providing some type of ID, such as a passport, perhaps. And references, do click YouTube Silver Bullion TV, SBTV. Go ahead and click that. Um, Shows the boss that we're doing some work here. And tick on this as well. I want to receive customer notifications via encrypted, secure notification. Again, as I always say, this one here is important. So what it does is you will simply get an email saying you have a notification from us, and there's nothing in the body of that email. So Google, Yahoo, any of those guys, they don't know what's in that email. So it's a way to communicate directly with us, and it is what I would suggest that you tick. So if you have more questions, go ahead and email us at sales@silverbullion.com.sg, and we'll move on over to Twitter, see what's going on with Twitter. The underlying truth is that in digitizing money, what was found is that so must they digitize you. And we're going to get into it. This is actually the main topic. This is coming from TF Metals, Craig Hemke, where the Fed explores once in a century bid to remake the US dollar. And what they're talking about here is going to move over into central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, as someone had asked earlier. The rise of private cryptocurrencies motivated the Fed to start considering a digital dollar to be used alongside the traditional paper currency. Now, up until when I started doing the research for this live stream, this was what I believed as well. I no longer believe this. What I do believe is that this has been in the works for a very, very long time, perhaps even a decade, but it's only coming out now. And I will go through why I believe that and show you some of the things that I've come across. So let me go ahead and make this a bit larger. So the Federal Reserve is taking what may be the first significant step to launching its own virtual currency, a move that could shake up banks, give millions of low income Americans, this is key now, low income Americans access to the financial system and fortify the dollar status as the world's reserve currency. So, a few key things already. They want to make sure that low income Americans can access the financial system because a lot of people do not have bank accounts and they want to some way get people involved in banking and to fortify the dollar status as the world's reserve currency. So two things coming out here. Now, the idea of creating a fully digital version of the US dollar, which was unthinkable just a few years ago, has gained bipartisan interest from lawmakers. Let's just say blue and the red have agreed that they should be looking into these things. And the US should not implement a central bank currency just because others are doing so, says the American Bankers Association, who is a little bit hesitant with the Fed's plans to go ahead and create a digital uh, central bank currency. So the banks, they're not entirely accepting of this, but central banks looks like they are going to go ahead and move over with it. So, basically just talks about how the Fed is going to push through with the central bank digital currency. So it is a pretty interesting article. Uh, Quite a long article, though, but good read. Congressman from Chris Marcus, Arcadia Economics, Congressman presses Secretary Yellen for disclosure of U.S. gold activities, according to Zero Hedge. This is West Virginia Representative Alex Mooney, where he is once again putting a bill through Congress where he wants an audit. He wants an audit of the gold, and he wants to know exactly what's going on with the Fed and gold. And this bill has come into Congress every session. I mean, not every session, but every new when we have our mid elections and whatnot, he will go ahead and put this through as a bill in Congress, and so far nothing has really become of it. So not much here. This is something that always gets our hopes up, but Congress simply will not allow it. They know that if there is any type of audit or any type of gold standard that you know it, it's just not in their best interest. But credit Alex Mooney, West Virginia. He's, I'll just say it, he's one of the good guys. According to John Williams of shadowstats.com, if the rate of inflation was still calculated that way, or the way that it was back in 1990, it would be above 8% right now. So inflation is actually much higher than what they say. In fact, using the same metrics back in 1980, it would be sitting at about 13% inflation. Again, the Fed doesn't count things like food, it doesn't count things like energy, and that's a lot of why there is such a substantial difference in what the Fed is telling you what inflation truly is and what you are seeing as to what inflation truly is. I mean, as I say, you're buying food every day, you're buying energy every day, whether it's fuel or whatever else. So you see it, and the Fed is just not in their metric. They don't calculate it. Breaking news: Gold Telegraph. Cuba has asked tourists not to bring dollars with them to the Caribbean island, as the U.S. currency will no longer be accepted in the country, according to the first vice president of the central bank, Francisco Mayobre Lentz. So this is interesting. I need to check into more of this. Maybe it may be a trend. Maybe other people may go ahead, or other countries may go ahead and start issuing the same notice as well. But we'll have to check into this. Where Cuba has asked tourists not to bring dollars with them, U.S. currency will no longer be accepted in the country. Francis Macron urges the G7 to sell gold reserves. Okay, so he wants them to sell gold reserves. Let me open this up a bit here. And there he is. There was an interesting uh you know greeting for Mr. Macron. Very interesting greeting. Um so let's see. Well, the editor here says, who on earth is advising Macron? For several years now, nations have been ramping up their gold reserves, especially the big ones such as Russia and China, as the world moves more towards a quantum financial system, which is backed by tagged gold reserves, thus limiting and surveilling the movement of gold and money in general. Why is he making this recommendation at this time? Which nations in their right minds would give up their gold? So basically, what this article is saying is he wants nations to sell their gold, G7 anyway, to bail out Africa as a fund to bail out Africa. Now, my thing here is the way central banks are printing money. Why do they need to sell gold to raise money to bail out Africa? They could just print it if they wanted to. So again, this is uh it's pretty interesting here. Why why would they sell gold? They could just print the money that they want. Sorry about that. I had a couple things come in I wanted to check on. Ted Cruz, everywhere we look, prices are rising. Let's see, trucks. Let me see this here. Cost of used cars and trucks rose 7.3%. So again, we are seeing inflation. Make no mistake about it. It is here already. And that was a look at Twitter. There are some more things, but I just want to make sure I try and stay on schedule here and not keep you guys up too late. But interesting. Sell gold. Why would you want to sell gold? Um, really, why would you want to sell gold? Okay, so that was the again that was a look at Twitter. So I want to move on to the topic of the day, and what we're going to be talking about is the go between fiat and the central bank digital currency. And lately, we've been talking about the U.S. dollar's reserve currency status. Stan Druckenmiller, Danielle DiMartino Booth, Peter Schiff, guys like Mike Maloney and others have all been talking about this as well. How secure is the U.S. dollar's reserve currency status, especially with what's going on right now, stimulus and other things. And in this conversation, we don't really take time out to understand that this is not just about the US dollar losing reserve currency status. It's also about leveling the playing and trading field of nations. It's also about the transition into a central bank digital currency. And it's about perhaps even the world going into some type of universal currency. So granted, these things, they're not going to happen tomorrow, but that tomorrow may be 10 or 15 years from now, where that tomorrow is indeed going to be today. So these are things that we need to absolutely keep on our radar. But before we get there, it's going to be a process, though. It's not just going to happen overnight. It's going to be a process, and part of that process is destruction or debasement of a currency, which we are seeing. We are seeing that pretty much globally, most countries anyway, larger countries, larger economies. Again, this is already emotion, and it's been emotion for a while. And you know, I will talk about having options to store our wealth in. And again, this is the reason why I talk about we need to have options. We need to have a store of value. We need to have a store of wealth, especially as we start to move deeper into this tunnel of transition. So again, this is something that we all need to keep our eye on. And, make no mistake, the transition is to make everything digital. This is what it's about. Make everything digital, including you, and including me. So I want to start here with an interview that I had with Daniel DiMartino Booth back in 2018. You think the Fed will come out with some type of crypto coin?
I think they have to. It goes to national security. I don't think they have a choice because if the Russians and the Chinese are already there, then we have to have one, or they would have a tool with which to take advantage of us, and that we can't have that.
Okay,
So it's not a choice, and it's not something that they would necessarily. I'm heartened because Randy Quarles, who's new to the Fed, and Powell both have said in deference to Ken Rogoff, they've both said that if there is Fed coin, it will be just as anonymous as any cash transaction would be, and that's the key because the Russians and the Chinese, they're going to be watching what their citizens buy. They're going to be using sovereign cryptocurrencies as a means to monitor their populations. And that's what we can't have here in the United States.
okay. So she says it's a matter of national security, and she says that any type of Fed coin has to keep a level of anonymity. She says the U.S. cannot be like Russia, cannot be like China in monitoring people through the money that they use, like cash, for instance. Remember cash. Okay, I'm going to touch on cash again shortly, but I think you know I think most people would agree that when it comes to a type of surveillance with the money, control of the money, which in effect also controls you in a way, I think most people would agree that this thing is going to happen and expecting a type of anonymity. Um, I don't think we can expect that. I don't think we're really going to see that much anonymity with the um, digital currencies that they would like to use. So nonetheless, let's go ahead and take a look at national security and perhaps what she means. This was an article that came out in January 24th of 2020. The greenback needs a digital makeover. Let me go ahead and open this up a bit larger. Okay, so last July, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin took the podium in the White House briefing room to explain his view on the risks of so called digital or cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin have been exploited to support billions of dollars of illicit activity, the secretary said, and many players have attempted to use cryptocurrencies to fund their malign behavior. And this is indeed a national security issue. And since then, the federal government has failed to adopt any overarching policy toward digital currency, leading to regulatory uncertainty and a stated hostility that is driving innovation away from the US. Again, this was in 2020. Mnuchin was quite correct. The emerging revolution of digital currency is a national security issue. It is a national security issue, but the problem is that his approach to digital currency may drive innovation into the hands of the U.S. leading national security competitor, China. And Chinese President Xi Jinping has made digital currency a key innovation goal for his country. For example, in October of 2019, 3 months after Mnuchin's White House statement, Xi told his Politburo that they must take blockchain as an important breakthrough for independent innovation, clarify the main directions, increase investment, and accelerate the development of blockchain. And almost immediately after his statement, National People's Congress dutifully enacted a new cryptocurrency law to establish the framework for a regulatory regime for a Chinese national digital currency. And this digital currency and so-called digital yuan is now ready for trial, according to the People's Bank of China. And in fact, it is being rolled out where there are trials already for people. So again, just to stay up to date, Washington at that time, they chose to focus on whether to allow digital currency in the U.S. financial system. In other words, China is moving ahead in earnest. The prospect of the Chinese Communist Party dominating this emerging financial technology should be alarming. Now, since the end of World War II, the U.S. has enjoyed significant advantages related to the U.S. dollar's role as the world's reserve currency. So great are those benefits that former French president characterized them as an exorbitant privilege. For example, when it comes time for Washington to finance its profligate fiscal responsibility, it can do so more cheaply because all the world relies on the US dollar. Meanwhile, the US military would be likely the first to suffer from a more austere fiscal balance sheet if the cost of borrowing rose significantly. Last paragraph here. Or consider U.S. economic sanctions. The foundation of U.S. sanctions is the unique status enjoyed by the dollar as the global reserve currency. Basically, what it comes down to, if they don't play ball, they basically can't be banked if they are trading with a country that has been targeted with these very powerful U.S. sanctions. So it comes down to sanction. It comes down to control. And again, this is what we see quite a bit. This is why a lot of countries want to move off of the U.S. dollar. So as the U.S. contemplates, China competes. They compete and they move forward. A digital yuan, as I said, is said to be already functional. And using your mobile phone to make payments in China, it's been going on for years. It's been going on for years. It's nothing new. And in fact, when you take a look at China, the question is, will China be the world's first cashless society? Open this up again. China is well on its way to become the world's first cashless economy, with mobile payments already accounting for 4 out of every 5 payments, according to a study by the South China Morning Post. And this figure comes from the broadsheet's inaugural China FinTech Report, which tracks the latest trends and future trajectory of the world's largest financial technology ecosystem. The report says that China's massive domestic financial market has an estimated 87% of consumers using fintech services, a US 29 trillion mobile payment market in 2019, and the largest global market for online securities trading. So, as the country opens up its financial system to foreign players and prepares the launch of the world's first national virtual currency, its fintech sector is poised to make a major impact on the global financial market. So you can see the pool of convenience will attract markets. Okay, fintech is moving forward. As you can see here, securities, other basically financial markets are going to open up in China. China wants to attract these markets, and fintech is going to play a huge role. Now, what about Russia? Remember, I said keep in mind cash. I'm about to show you something that has been going on in Russia, and it's going to tell you without question that our monetary system is changing. Fiat is changing in form and function. So as China moves straight up digital, especially with your mobile phone, Russia is using paper notes, but with a twist. Russia unveils QR coded 202,000 ruble bills. Now take a look at this date, 2017. Okay, this is 2017. And here you can see their note. There's a QR code. Let me see what that QR code is. I believe it's here. Hang on, let me go down a bit. Russia's central bank and national mint Goznak unveiled new 202,000 ruble bills on Thursday. Again, this is 2017. The front side of the new banknotes are fitted with a QR code, which links the bank's website, where there is detailed information on their artistic design and security features. Make no mistake, that probably will change in the future. You can see the QR code. You can see it here. This is the QR code. Just to take another look at it, maybe this will be a little bit more clear of a picture. Um, Again, the banknotes, you can see the QR code here. So these are already out since 2017. These were commemorative FIFA World Cup notes with the QR code. So again, you have digital, mobile. I mean, using your mobile phone, and then you have cash with the QR code. So we're looking at two different changes. Again, either go straight digital using your mobile phone, or place the QR code on cash, effectively making that note smart note, or tweak it a bit and call it a smart bank note. Smart bank note. Before we get into what a smart bank note is, let's first understand what a regular bank note is. Let's take a quick look at it. So what's a bank note? A lot of small websites here. A banknote is a promissory note issued by a bank. It is payable on demand, sometimes in the form of precious metals like gold and silver, and sometimes in exchange for assets such as bonds issued by the bank. Banknotes are considered legal tender and they are used in billions of financial transactions all over the world every day. A banknote, in other words, is currency, and this author calls it even money. Originally, people paid for goods and services with objects of physical value, such as precious metals. I saw one of your comments where you said barter. Now, over time, governments began issuing banknotes, pieces of paper, which could be exchanged for these objects of value. Although the paper itself is physically worthless, it represents value. And these certificates were much higher and or much lighter, and more practical to carry around in piles of gold and silver. Small denominations of currency were cast in coins made from less precious metals, so people generally carried around a mixture of banknotes in paper and in small coin. So moving forward, well, what's a smart banknote? And this is where it gets interesting. This article, they interviewed Franklin Knoll, who we've had on SBTV as well for an interview, Dr. Franklin Knoll. Experts suggest smart banknotes could be used as future money. Let me make this a bit larger again. All right, so what exactly is a smart banknote and why would we ever need one? That is the question answered by Franklin Knoll in a recent post on beingcrypto.com, a news website specializing in cryptographic technology, privacy, and fintech. Now, Knoll, he's far from a techie. His company, Knoll Historical Consulting, is an authority on the history of money. He knows the history of money and has worked with the U.S. Treasury, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, the Bureau of Fiscal Service, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the Federal Reserve, and the International Monetary Fund. And he is considering the implications of what he calls the inevitable transition from traditional cash to payments by smartphone and similar devices. And his answer is the smart banknote. So again, this is a man who knows the history of money. He's been around it. He even advises on money. Now, a smart banknote would be a hybrid, one that, whether paper or polymer, would look and function as a traditional note, but with an embedded chip. There's a chip in it and electronic ink. Now, with these, it could also communicate with an electronic network. It could then be used to make electronic payments, and after being used that way, could be recharged and continue to circulate as a traditional note offline if desired. Now, Knoll proposes that these smart notes would slowly replace regular currency. And he writes, imagine a $10 bill bearing a chip and an icon that displays whether the bill still retains its value or that the value was transferred out of it on a network. Now, this smart $10 bill would circulate hand to hand like current $10 bills, with everyone knowing whether it had value. Everyone knowing whether it had value or not. So, what do you guys think of this so far? I mean, we're always hearing central bank digital currencies and things like that, but there is the in between, a smart banknote, where it does have the attributes of a physical note, but yet can also be digital in some way to communicate on digital networks. So, we keep hearing central bank digital currencies, but under the radar, possible in between or go between are smart banknotes. So I'm curious what you think of that. Um, Manuel de Jesus, of course, it has a chip. They want to chip people to. I mean, it's. I tell you what, though, there is some truth in that because there is the belief that you cannot fully digitize money unless you digitize people. And as an example, because so many of our payments are made through mobile phones nowadays, they had to. A lot of times, if you try and buy a SIM card, you have to give some type of identification, and that identification, when you make your payment, that identification links you to your payment through the SIM card. So this could possibly be the reason why nowadays in a lot of countries you are required to produce some identification just to buy a SIM card, and that is because they were looking also at the financial aspect. They want to know who is, well, where the money came from, basically. So Kind of interesting there. So I just want to take a look at the comments. What do you think about these smart banknotes? Um, Probably okay. Um, yeah, imagine if they put silver in a chip and you know what it is, you can know the value of it. I mean, I think that'd be pretty good too. It would have some type of it would be weighted against silver, so that would be something pretty good as well. So I want to show you a clip from a Franklin Knoll interview that we had, I think roughly about a year ago or so, maybe somewhere around there. But this is what he had to say.
So my little cause is what I call smart banknotes, which are basically traditional banknotes that can talk to an electronic network. Um, Say it has a chip in it or something like that. And when you're offline, it acts just like cash. It looks just like cash. No problems. But if you want to move money, say do a remote payment, you don't have to put it in the mail or do anything like that. You go to um, either on your phone or something like that, move the amount on that note to an electronic account and ship it off, or manipulate it however you want. Um, and so for me, the idea gives a central bank all the benefits of having an electronic or form of money, but people who don't want that still use a banknote in the same way they always have. Keep it safe the same way you always have.
Okay, so that's Franklin. No. So what do you think of that smart banknote again? I mean, as a go between the fiat note that we have today and a purely digital currency that say would be used on mobile phones, where holding and having physical cash in time may be rendered obsolete. Yeah, and I'm going to show you another take on a smart banknote of sorts, but this is more for crypto. I just want to go ahead and take a look at some of the comments here. 49, fine, good one. Surveillance, monitoring, and recording technology, smart. Never seen that one before. That's a good take on a pretty interesting take. Um, yeah, so I can see a lot of concerns that you have there, and again, this is because as they talk about central bank digital currencies, there is something that could possibly be before that, which would be a smart banknote. And so I want to show you another type of a smart banknote of sorts, but again, this is more for crypto. Okay, so let's get this website to open up. Bitcoin smart banknotes launched in Singapore. Okay, Bitcoin smart banknotes launched in Singapore again, 2018. This goes back to 2018. These things they're there. They have been there for a while. Let me open this up a bit. Some of you may be familiar with this. Okay, so Bitcoin smart banknotes launched in Singapore. A digital asset smart banknote manufacturer has launched Bitcoin banknotes at a store in Singapore. Again, this is back in 2018. Designed to make owning and circulating cryptocurrencies as easy as using paper money. And they are currently available in denominations of zero point zero 0.01 and zero point zero 0.05 Bitcoin. So Bitcoin banknotes, they debut in Singapore. The banknote manufacturer is Tangent. This was a store. I should check if it's still around where you could get these banknotes or these crypto notes. So available immediately in denominations of zero point zero 0.01 and zero point zero 0.05 Bitcoin, Tangent notes radically improve the simplicity and security of acquiring, owning, and circulating cryptocurrencies for both sophisticated and incoming users. Headquarters in Switzerland, Crypto Valley, Zug, and Hong Kong. Uh, Tangent also has offices in Singapore, Moscow, and China. And again, I need to check on this. It's been a while. I did actually meet one of the guys from Tangent, and the company says it's delivering the first shipment of 10,000 production notes to prospective partners and distributors around the world for commercial pilots. Again, remember, this is 2017. So it explains that their Bitcoin smart banknotes are comparable to a well protected paper banknote and cheap enough to hand over. Citing their ease of use, the company says there's no special infrastructure, no complicated applications. Just touch the banknote with an NFC capable smartphone to be 100% sure it has valid access. Okay, so what I want to do I'm just gonna try it out here and see if I can get this to work here. Um, Let me open this up. So this is the app here, far right hand corner where it says Tangent, and this is actually one of those banknotes. I do have one, or these crypto notes. I don't know if you can see it here. Okay, so this is how it looks, just like in the photo. And what you would do is you just open up that app. Hang on here. Just open up the app, and then you can go ahead. You can go ahead and hang on. I don't want to add any tokens. Hang on here. Okay, so this is what it looks like here. And what it will do is it'll go ahead and read. It'll read this card. Okay, it's going to read this card and tell you how much you have on it. So there should be 0.01 Bitcoin on this card. So what happens is you just press. Hang on, I'm trying to do this here. Press scan. Okay, so press scan, and then you just put your card next to it, and then it's going to read it. Should read it. This was working all morning. What happened to it? Okay, well, okay. Well, I guess it's not reading it. But anyway, what would happen is okay, I think it did. Hang on, let me just get this again. Sorry about that. Okay, there it did read it. Done. Okay, so what happens is it then shows you how much you have, and as you can see, I have 0.00 BTC on it. Okay, so there's nothing on it. And if I look at the legacy, it'll tell you that this address has transacted 2 times on the Bitcoin blockchain. It has received a total of 0.01, which is what the card states, Bitcoin. But it's already been removed. So this kind of also goes into play with what Franklin Noel was talking about, where you can see if the value of the banknote is still on it. So let me go ahead and get out of here. So again, this is the card. Okay, and what I want to show you, besides showing it to you upside down, is okay. Just give me a second here. When they talk about a chip in the banknotes or in the cards, I'll try and show you what they mean without blinding you guys. So what they're talking about is hang on. Let me see if I can get this here. Okay, so this is the banknote. You can see that chip right there. You see it? So it's right in that zero. So this is where they embed a chip. So you see, you can move across, and then you actually see it there. Okay, so there is a chip that's actually embedded in it. So that's what they're kind of looking at when they talk about these banknotes and having chips embedded in it. They're talking about these kinds of things, and you can actually see there was a chip in there. So that is that tangent type of card. But the thing is, this might seem new to some of you, and to some of you it might not. And the actual thing is, it is not new. Okay, so we can go back to that same article, and we're going to see that it's not new. Okay, so this is that same article with Franklin Noel, and as we go down, this is where it gets interesting. Okay, not a new idea. According to Noel, the concept of a smart banknote is not all that revolutionary. Okay, it's not all that revolutionary. The idea of a hybrid banknote has actually been around almost as long as Bitcoin. Hang on, let me just bring this down a bit. Okay, this is where it's interesting. Okay, the idea of a hybrid banknote has actually been around almost as long as Bitcoin. Now, by 2010, thinking about putting electronic features on banknotes was already underway, along with the idea of using such a note to act as a transition between traditional banknotes and cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin just came out in about 2010, if I recall. So this generally opens up some curiosity where how could they in 2010 be thinking about this go between a cryptocurrency and fiat? So this really did spark some interest on my part. How were they able to do this? Now, Noel added, such a perspective was developed in work performed for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation by Ignacio Moss and Consult Hyperion, represented by Paul Macon and Andrew Whitcomb, who are credited with creating the term smart banknote. So apparently, you had some people such as Ignacio Moss, and again, I'm not, this is nothing bad or anything like that. This is just actually factual things here, who was doing some work for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and it was regarding looking into things like smart banknotes. The thing is, again, 2010. This is when Bitcoin pretty much just came out, so you got to kind of wonder, how were these things kind of running parallel with each other at that time? So it's pretty interesting there. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Anyway, I'm not going to get into conspiracies there. One day, but not today. According to Noel, the concept of a smart banknote is not all that revolutionary. And again, the idea of a hybrid banknote has actually been around almost as long as Bitcoin. By 2010, thinking about putting electronic features on banknotes was already underway, along with the idea of using such a banknote or to be a transition between traditional banknotes and cryptocurrencies. So I want to throw this out there, though, as I was saying, and that's my first thought. What are the odds of Bitcoin, a smart banknote, coming out at the same time, and both being little known for years, and smart banknotes meant to be the transition between traditional banknotes and cryptocurrencies? I mean, really, what are the odds of that? It's what are the odds? I mean, if you're going to create something that is meant to be a transition, then you must know what the finality is. Otherwise, you're creating a transition that is more or less like a bridge to nowhere. So why would you do that? And I put this in because I know some of you guys out there are already thinking Satoshi Gates. I'm not going to get into that, but I think these gentlemen, of course, they all had the best of intentions, for sure. And some considerations that Noel noted that many people who do not have bank accounts required to use cryptocurrency, but who depend on cash for daily use. And with the proposed smart banknotes, they could use the electronic aspects at retail locations. So that's one benefit that smart banknotes would have above, let's say, a purely digital cryptocurrency or a central bank digital currency. Other things to consider: there are times and places where internet access simply is not available. So an electronic currency would be useless. The smart banknote, however, would work. And again, it's because it would still look like fiat. So you could still use it as fiat in some ways. You'd have that physical note. Whereas again, purely digital, there's nothing, you have nothing with you, right? More concerns: the cash industry, for instance, printers, transport companies, recyclers could be decimated by electronic payment systems, and the smart banknote give them time would give them time to adapt to a new business environment. So again, more positive things that smart banknotes can do. And there are people who prefer to use cash rather than electronic payments. Okay, they still want to hang on to physical cash. And cash is actually increasing, and physical notes are viewed as an element of security in troubled times. I mean, we all know that, right? If we expect something, we may pull out some cash from the bank and keep it with us, aka store it under the mattress, things like that. So, we do tend to hold cash, if there's a lot of uncertainty going on. So it's physical notes are an element of security in troubled times. So Noel added that such a perspective was developed in work performed for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as noted in the article here. Okay, it's noted here. And it was done so by Ignacio Moss and Consult Hyperion, represented by Paul Macon and Andrew Whitcomb, who are credited with creating the term smart banknote. Okay, so let's just get into that a little bit. So we have smart banknotes and we have full on digital mobile phones. And this is about the digitization of everything, including you and me. In this next article, you're going to see a familiar name, Ignacio Moss, the same name who was doing work for the Gates Foundation. And again, you're just trying to tie things up here. I don't know Ignacio Moss. And like I said, when you look at his work, he really truly does have the best of intentions, that, in his mind and in his work. So, which is something I could appreciate. Just having the best of intentions there. So this article, I'm a victim of DFS digitizing my dollars. It's fine. The problem is digitizing me. So he says again. Here you go, Ignacio Moss. So he says, I recently had to walk away from the money I held in a bank account. It's still there, but it's unreachable. My money wasn't sitting in an old fashioned kind of bank. It was with simple, a new age, purely digital financial service provider. What you have to understand, if you want to use digital banks, is that they digitize everything except your identity. And they'll give you internet logins, but those are a matter of transient convenience or inconvenience, and you can regenerate them on the fly anytime you like, and the bank can expire them anytime they like. Now, in either of these situations, when you need to assert your ownership over your money, they'll fall back on simple questions like your phone number and address, and these two things that leave the biggest digital trail. Okay. The phone number that so many people churn through, or dropping one line or a SIM card and buying another that offers a better deal in the latest mobile promotion. The address that is such a fixture in the middle class psyche, but so fleeting for people in a transient life stage and unwritable for many people in rural areas. So many people, including me at the time I walked away from my money, I was between jobs and hence likely between cities. I have to resort on putting down a friend's, much less memorable, address. So when asked to provide identity, he says he struck out. Sorry about that. He struck out on the phone number and on the address. Two strikes, you're out. Okay. There were no bank statements I could go back to and check my information because they're paperless. There was no place I could go to with my passport or national ID because they're branchless. Okay, so he goes on to say that never mind that it seems like a degraded banking experience, that branchless banking is banking with less resource or recourse. The main point is that our whole framework for digital money is inadequate. Digital money really means assigning a monetary value to a digital identity. Okay? Digital money means assigning a monetary value to a digital identity, which then raises the question, who should have the responsibility for digitizing people's identities so that money can start being assigned to them? This is an interesting statement. Who raises or who has the responsibility for digitizing people's money so that it can start being assigned to them? Okay, so we'll end it there. We'll end it there. Let me come back here. So in all this, yes, digitizing money can only work if you and me are digitized as well. We have to be digitized. We have to have information that can be easily accessible, where we don't have to run to this place or that place and get some type of paperwork to bring to another place. And everything needs to be digitized for digitized money to work. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, about the plan to digitize you and your dollars, I'm going to play a clip from Ignacio Moss, something that he said back in 2013. And the context is, again, helping poor people. His intentions are good. Okay. So he's looking at a way to help people for things, in this case, school fees. Okay. And because even poor people have mobile phones, excuse me for saying that word, have mobile phones, digitized money and payment systems, they're a tool that everyone can use. So the intent here is to help or force, depending on how you want to look at it, help people pay for their debts and but not to necessarily save. So I'm going to just play three clips and you be your own judge here.
The only reason why in this world here we're paying we're paying in cash is because we stored it in cash. That's very different to what we're trying to do in the electronic world, where we want people to pay electronically, but we're not expecting them to hold electronic value. That's never going to work. People always have a preference for paying in whatever form they hold their currency, which is why if we really want people to pay for the school fee electronically, we need to make sure that they build up that balance electronically and not in cash.
Okay, so he's saying, we transact electronically, but we need to have, or we have to actually save up electronically. That's what he's looking at. where he's saying we don't save enough electronically. Again, this was coming out in 2013 with the object being for people to be able to make mobile phone payments. A couple more clips from Ignacio Mas.
Savings is not a very intuitive word for most poor people. Saving is what I do when I have money left over, except that I never do, so why are you even mentioning the word savings? Their problem is not that they have excess money, their problem is the opposite. They have excess payments, excess things they want to buy, and they never seem to get there simply because the money goes into today's payments and obliterating tomorrow's payments. So we talk about helping people achieve their future payments, achieve the goals, the things they want to buy in the future. I think it's going to be much more resonant with them. It's all about payments. And in fact, the reason why it's all about payments is because that's the essence of the money management problem. And that's really the one that we need to be helping with. We shouldn't be helping people save or pay. What we really should be helping them is manage their money across space and across time, because that is the essence of money management.
Okay, so we should be helping people to manage their money. I guess they want to go a little bit deeper into your pockets and again try and help you out. Make sure you make all your payments on time. So they want to help people manage their payments in a sense. So one more clip from Ignacio Mas.
Institute a kind of waiting period where you can access your money if you want, but not immediately. Let's not make it easy to fall for immediate temptations, impulse buying. Another way to do that might be to introduce a notion of indivisibility, which is, sure, I'm going to give you access to your money, to this money here, if you really need to, but I'm going to assume that's for an emergency, and so you need to take all of it or substantially a substantial amount of money. I'm not going to let you fall for small temptations out of this balance. A third possibility is to introduce the notion of peer pressure, for example, by having everyone nominate a savings buddy, someone that they trust, who would be informed or might even need to approve if you want to take money early, just to help you control yourself. So that I think will be an essential feature of a deferred payment scheme to make this viable for people, to make it so that they have both discipline by parking money into these virtual jars, but also liquidity in case of an emergency.
Okay, so I'm going to nominate Jerome Powell to be my savings buddy. So now I think you kind of get the picture where yeah, as we move forward to digital, their control is going to shift. When you have fiat, even though we criticize fiat for not being backed by anything and things like that, we do have a little bit of we do have more control with our money, and as it moves over into digital, we may we may have a little bit less and less control of our money. So something to keep in mind. So let me move on here. Now I'm not saying anybody's good or bad in this thing. Okay, I'm just saying what's coming down the road, and uh, you know these are some plans that people have in store for us. Okay, and they've have had them in store for us for over a decade. I mean, as we showed you there, since 2010, these things were already being thought up, conjured up at about the same time of Bitcoin. So again, that's also interesting as well at about the time of cryptocurrency. So these things that we remain in control of, as I said, it looks like they're going to become less and less. Now, going digital means banks and our governments have control over our money, and that means doesn't mean control over us in a lot of ways. I mean, let's be honest here. And getting back to the clip where I asked Daniel DiMartino Booth about a Fed coin, and she said that it must still offer us anonymity. Uh, I also asked Franklin Noel that same question. Will it still allow us to have some type of anonymity? Just a side question though. What what do you say to people who feel that CBDCs and all of these things and the eventual phasing out of cash at some point? Well, what do you say to them when they say things like this is going to limit freedoms and things like that.
I think that's a very valid concern. There are some ideas floating around about CBDCs that take this into account and say we won't we won't track the money, or there won't be a necessity to track the money below a certain transaction level, much like there is today in the US. If you move $10,000 or more, that has to be recorded somewhere. And I couldn't see why a central bank couldn't set up a system saying you're transacting less than $100 or $500. Nobody has to know where that's going. They don't have to track that. And maybe you might tie it to a denomination. I'm not quite sure how that would work in practicality, but central banks are thinking about this, um, and there has to be a way to do it without impinging on privacy. But it's a really valid concern, and maybe with smart banknotes there may be a way to um, cut that off or make the notes more anonymous, that you only have to transfer the value, you don't have to transfer any other information back and forth once it connects to an electronic network. Um, it's a valid concern, and I think it needs to be really looked at and not glossed over, while all the regulators are very concerned with anti-money laundering and things like that. So, yeah.
Okay, and so that will pretty much clean up the topic of the day. Uh, if you can, just if you'd like to know more of what Franklin Noel had to say, very very smart guy, very nice guy, kind man. Um, you can go ahead and just go to our YouTube channel and type in Franklin Noel on the search feature, and then you should be able to find that interview there. So again, this is really more about central bank digital currencies with what we hear about them coming into play, and there are other things such as smart banknotes, which could pretty much be that in between, or that go between. So I just want to take a look at a few comments here before I offer up my comments as well. So let me see. Um, Jack P, yeah, that is one thing. You won't be able to pay the kid or tip the guy mowing the lawn. I mean, as other guys have said, if you have your weekend poker nights with your buddies, how are you going to pay them without the government knowing? I guess that's what your thought, or without being questioned. What was that payment, from Jack to Joe about? You know, will they be will some sort of a receipt have to be required, or some sort of note, why you made that payment? Who knows? Who knows what that thing is going to look like? Or maybe, as Franklin Noel said, maybe if it's less than a certain amount, that they won't care. It's fine. So we'll see how these things open up. So let's take a look at some comments here. Jack P. Oh, wait, no, not this one. Jack P. brought a bunch of cash to the bank last month. Kid teller couldn't count the money. Okay, all right, funny. That's funny there. So I just want to take a look again at a few comments. Yeah, okay. Some people are already afraid of cash. Let's see. Let's see. Johnny Ripple. This was always the plan for digital currency. Every transaction tracked and taxed. It could be. It's hard to say, but I do think it's in the governments may see it in their best interest to do some type of a digital currency, simply because every time a transaction is made, they could instantly take a tax from it. You paid $10, you're going to see 0.10, whatever it is, taken out immediately for taxes. I mean, you got to remember, governments are really in debt right now, and they're going to do whatever they can to try and get money from us, right? So anyway, moving on to comments. Digitizing your money means digitizing your identity. An example, the chances are when you, as I mentioned, go to buy a SIM card, you need to show an ID. And the plan, pretty much all along, it seems like now, was to have people when they use their mobile phones to make payments, they need to know who owns that, or who made that payment, I should say, who owns that money. Okay, digitized money payments and people, every mobile transaction will be linked to a mobile phone whose SIM card is going to be linked to you. So how does this all fit in with silver and gold? Again, it's all about having options. We say this week in and week out. Have options, opportunities, have a store of value. I mean, financial freedom. Some people see financial freedom is having a lot of money, having a lot of fiat, things like that, assets, which is fine. For me personally, the definition of financial freedom is being free from the financial system. Having some freedom outside of the current financial system, and that's why I look at things like gold and silver. It's not even about money anymore. It's about identifying you, and yes, in some cases, the control. It's the control. Governments are in debt, like I said, and they need money. They are going to need money. So this transition, as it takes place, people are going to reflect on what money is or was supposed to be, what it was meant to be. And two forms of money, silver and gold, are known throughout the world. Everybody knows them. The history has always been there. And this is where opportunities are going to be plentiful. As people, or as money is being redefined, they're going to fall back to knowing silver and gold is or are money. And this is where I think you are going to find opportunities, because people, they're going to recognize that, and they're going to want real money as well, just as much as you do. So having silver and gold, it's going to store the value of your money as money shifts, as money changes, becomes redefined. I would not want to not have silver and gold when all this accelerates, because nothing I said here is in the future. It's already in the past. It's already in the past. So that will wrap up the commentary section. And again, I'm thankful that you folks will be here. I hope that this added some value. Maybe let us see some things in a different way. I know a lot of you guys have your own opinion on things, and it still comes back to gold and silver, real money, sound money. It's what it comes back to. So I do hope that most of us, we get it, we understand that, and I do hope that we've started to do things about it. So let me take a look at some comments, and then we'll head out here. Let's see. Uh, Jack P, tax on all tips. Yeah, are they at that point now where if you get tips, you're going to get taxed on it? I remember tips were kind of a silent thing before, long ago, but is it something now where you end up getting taxed on it? So curious to know that. Let's see. Um, Take a look at a few more comments here. Okay, Mr. Nguyen, gold and silver will always be your safest sound money. Have more than you should or think you should. That is true. It's a great point there. Take a look at a few more comments here. Let me see. Yeah, home Eduardo, yes, have some homes and land, farming, things like that. Um, let's see. A few more comments. Just scrolling through this, so I just want to take a look at a few comments here. Um, okay. Let's see. Okay, I guess you guys are okay. I mean, I'm going through the comments, and I'm reading through them. Let's see. Okay, I guess last comment. Mr. Nguyen again. The dollar and all fiat currency fight gold and silver. If gold wins, the fiat is screwed. They don't want people to hold gold for that reason. And Manuel de Jesus, it's all about control, no doubt. Um, you know, it's always been that way with governments. More control is what they want. So, again, I hope I didn't ruffle any feathers here with this live stream. Again, just wanted to present an alternative to central bank digital currencies, because smart banknotes seem to be flying under the radar, and it actually is that happy medium between guys who want fiat and moving forward to digital. So it is that go between. So just wanted to make sure that we're all aware of it and all alert to it. All the more reason to get yourself silver and gold. Absolutely, get yourself silver and gold. Again, We see what's coming. Be a blessing, not a burden. We're going to have to help people. We're all in the same boat together. Do what you can. And as I always say, saddle up for what's coming ahead and silver up as well. I'll see you guys next week. Take care.